Hello, I'm going to do a talk today on Gurdjieff. Kind of inspired from yesterday's where I did one on astrology and then did a few of Gurdjieff's strange words. And I thought, well, I'll do language today. So I've been looking up all about the language and getting some quotes and all that. But normally starts from all and everything. And he writes in the beginning of all and everything some reasons as to why he uses his own words and why he became a writer. So I shall start with them because they're quite important. So this is from All and Everything, page 9 and 10. I, Gurdjieff, who have lately been considered by very many people as rather a good teacher of temple dances, have now become today a professional writer and will of course write a great deal, as it has been proper to me since childhood whenever I do anything to do a great deal of it. Nevertheless, not having, as you see, the automatically acquired and automatically manifested practice necessary for this, I shall be constrained to write all I have thought out in ordinary, simple, everyday language, established by life, without any literary manipulations and without any grammarian wiseacrings. I've not yet decided the most important question of all, in which language to write. And he says here he's going to write in simple everyday English, but as many of you know, All and Everything can be quite a difficult book to read because he writes very long sentences, but he does get his point across. Where his next books, Meetings with Remarkable Men and Life is Real Only Then When I Am, are, I was going to say easier reads then, but they're more straightforward. But it is recommended that you read them Beelzebub's Tales, then Meetings with Remarkable Men, then Life is Real. And I always say Herald of Coming Good should be the first one, which I have a audio version of on my YouTube channel, and I have all the other books as audios on my Internet Archive, and there's many others, like Tony Blake does fantastic readings, so does Harold Good. No, is it Harold Good? Harold Good. Harold Good. I said Harold then. Harold Good. Very good audio versions as well. Sorry, Harold, for getting your name wrong there. So he's saying he's going to write, but then he says, in Russian, you cannot go far. Both these languages, Russian and English, are like the dish which is called in Moscow Solyanka, and into which everything goes except you and me. So he was realizing he was having problems getting across what he wanted to say, and he had to start using words that meant precisely what they were saying. Like I was saying in the last episode about how words today have lost their original meanings over time, or their meanings have slightly changed, and some have even reversed. Um, you know, and I remember Terry Pratchett doing a whole talk about this in one of his books about how words are changed. I think I remember, if I remember rightly, we say things are terrific now, but originally that comes from the word terror, and terror is frightening. But now we see terrific as fantastic. So words have changed over time, sometimes to reverse their meanings completely. So going back to Gurdjieff writing, so he wants to start writing, and it's a brand new way of getting his teachings across for him. But he puts pen to paper, and he's adamant he's going to do it. But he also says in Meetings with Remarkable Men, what is the literature of contemporary civilization to give? Nothing whatever except the development of, so to say, word prostitution. And it's the word prostitution that he's concerned about, that people are not understanding words anymore, or their proper meanings, or using them wrongly, or like I've just said about terror and terrific, words have changed over time. And he wants to try and make things clear in his books. And I know I'm not very clear in my videos sometimes, but as I keep telling everyone, I'm not a master, I'm not a guru, I'm just pondering on everything I've been learning over time. And some people I used to meet, we used to discuss it, and we can't meet anymore because of it 2020, 2021 lockdowns, blah, 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 blah. But YouTube's there, thankfully, for free for me to be able to put out these little videos for those that are interested in this kind of thing. And it brings a lot of dialogue on the comment section, which has been great to have with people. I've learned a lot myself from them. And we're all here to interchange and exchange views and hopefully help each other to understand what we're trying to learn. So Gurdjieff was saying about word prostitution, how people misuse words. So to get across some of his teachings, his traditional meanings, he makes, I want to say makes words up, but he does find the etymology from original sources like Latin, Greek. You do have to understand language sometimes to pull apart what all his different words mean when he uses them to specify a certain thing. And it's not throughout all the books. It's mainly in Beelzebub's Tales to explain some of the processes that are going on to help work on yourself. And as in the Tales, you've got it's about Beelzebub talking to his grandson and teaching him. And obviously, because they're from another planet, they use different language to us and they understand the cosmic process much better than we do. We do not understand how world maintenance and world creation is working in our everyday lives. But when we study this kind of thing, or esoteric practices, we start realizing how everything's interrelated and the cosmos is all one. So he uses certain words to explain what he's trying to get across, so that the meanings cannot be changed. It's just one definitive meaning to certain words. So carrying on in Meetings from Remarkable Men, where he's talking about languages, the grammars of their different languages are, in most cases, constructed artificially and have been composed and continue to be altered chiefly by a category of people who, in respect of understanding real life and the language evolved from it for mutual relations, are quite illiterate. So he sounds like he's being really rude, but it's just his way of putting across how words have changed over time and the meanings have been taken away and are not the same as what they were originally. And this is why people misunderstand things, because sometimes people remember or were taught the one meaning for it and other people are taught a different meaning for it, or there's different ways of saying the same word. Words are spelt the same that have two different meanings and such like. And typically now I can't think of an example off the top of my head. I had loads before I made this show and I should have written them down really. Right then, I'm going to go on with, so this is still from All and Everything, and he's talking about language. The change I've witnessed in that language, and he's talking about the Armenian, during the last 30 or 40 years has been such that instead of an original independent language coming to us from the remote past, there has resulted and now exists one which, though also original and independent, yet represents, as might be said, a kind of clownish potpourri of languages, the totality of the consonants of which, falling on the ear of a more or less conscious and understanding listener, sounds just like the tones of Turkish, Persian, French, Kurd, and Russian words, and still other indigestible and inarticulate noises. Almost the same might be said about my native language, Greek, that language, the spirit and essence of which were transmitted to me by heredity, and the language now spoken by contemporary Greeks, are as much alike as a now is like a requiem. And I'm sure you've seen over your lifetimes, like I've seen new words come into the language. I've seen how words have been changed. And the kids of today had their own language. When I was a teenager, we had our own language. I think it was cool, but cool is attempt to say how the temperature is. But when we're saying it's cool as a kid, as a teenager, it was to say how fashionable, vogue, how great it was. And this is changing the meaning of words as different generations come along. And as you probably know, in your country, 100 years ago they spoke very differently to how we speak today. 200 years ago they spoke even more differently, and so on. We have ancient ways of speaking or archaic ways of speaking from the past. If we met someone from our own country that was born 500 years ago, don't think we'd be able to speak that clearly to each other. Right, so he goes on to say in All and Everything, there began to arise in me also the conviction with what is called my mind, that these languages are compiled by people, or rather grammarians, who are in respect of knowledge of the given language, exactly similar to those biped animals whom the esteemed Mullah Nasir ad-Din characterizes by the words, all they can do is to wrangle with pigs about the quality of oranges. And it's me stumbling over my words today, and I'm supposed to be doing one about language. But Mullah Nasir ad-Din is another character from Beelzebub's Tales, but he's also a known character from the East who has quirky anecdotes for certain situations, and you'll probably find him, if you've not already come across him, do look him up. He's an interesting character, Mullah Nasir ad-Din. So, carrying on with All and Everything. In order that the elucidation of these principles may be properly perceived and transubstantiated in the followers of this new teaching, it is necessary to establish a corresponding form of language, since we find the established form of language quite unsuitable for such elucidations. Our still recently established language in which we speak and write books has become quite stumbling again. Right. Our still recently established language in which we speak and write books has become quite worthless for any more or less exact exchange of opinions. The words convey indefinite and relative notions. And he goes on to say, the word signifies for him, the average man, not all the implications of the given idea, but merely the first chance significance depending upon the ideas formed in the link of automatic associations flowing in him. This tragicomic feast of sound, symphony of words without content, cacophonous, fantastic nonsense. Some people might say Beelzebub's Tower sounds like that, but that's why it needs effort and work to read. So again, he's saying about words having many different meanings, and nobody always understands what other people say. Or if you gave a word to someone, if you had a set of people in front of you and gave them one word and then said, each of you give me a different meaning, give me a meaning, they'll all give him a different meaning. I ballsed that up then. I'm just not getting it today with the language. And I did ask Mr Gurdjieff if I could do this right. So I'll just quote Gurdjieff. It'd be easier, wouldn't it? The word world to some people would mean astronomer, suns, planets, galaxies. In physics, it would mean the evolution of matter from atoms to suns. To the philosopher, our Earth, an illusory world. Polydimensional space, three-dimensional world is cross-section of four-dimensional world. Dogmas of religion, everything existing created by God and depending on his will. In the invisible world, life is eternal. To those of the spiritualist world, they would say, world of the beyond, side by side with visible world. And to the theosophist, seven worlds interpenetrating each other and composed of more and more rarefied matter. So there he's given an example of giving the word world to different people and what it means to different people. If you said to them, what does the word world mean to you? What would you have said? And I know that each of us would have said something different. That's language. We put our own meanings onto it. So he goes on to say, in views from the real world, for an exact study, an exact language is needed. Our ordinary language in which we speak, set forth what we know and understand, write books, does not do for even a small amount of exact speech. An inexact speech cannot serve an exact knowledge. The words composing our language are too wide, too foggy and indefinite, while the meaning put into them is too arbitrary and variable. For many notions accessible to our reason, we have neither words nor expressions. The language of numbers alone can serve for an exact expression of thought and knowledge, but the language of numbers is applied only to designate and compare quantities. But things do not differ only in size, and their definition from the point of view of quantities is not sufficient for an exact knowledge and analysis. We do not know how to apply the language of numbers to the attributes of things. If we knew how to do it and could designate all the qualities of things by numbers in relation to some immutable number, this would be an exact language. Right, I was going to do. Oh, that's it, from views from the real world. What does the word man mean to you? And Gurdjieff says, everybody uses the word man and thinks he understands what man means. And of course, Gurdjieff goes on in his books and his traditions and teachings to say about how there's different types of man and different stages of man. We talked about levels in another show, and how there's different levels of man. So man is different to different people. So he's going on about exact language still, and this is in search of the miraculous. See, I said he's going on about language still, and to some people it might sound like I'm saying, oh, he's going on again about exact language, but I meant to say he's continuing going on about exact language. For exact understanding, exact language is necessary. This new language contains hardly any new terms, but it bases the construction of speech upon a new principle, the principle of relativity. All ideas in it are concentrated round one idea. They are taken in their mutual relationship from the point of view of one idea, evolution, not in the sense of mechanical evolution, because such an evolution does not exist, but in the sense of a conscious and volitional evolution which alone is possible. Everything in the world, from solar systems to man and from man to atom, either rises or descends, either evolves or degenerates, either develops or decays, but nothing evolves mechanically. Only degeneration and destruction proceed mechanically. That which cannot evolve consciously degenerates. Help from outside is valued only insofar as it is accepted. The language in which understanding is possible is constructed upon the indication of the relation of the object under examination to the evolution possible for it. And then he starts talking about the ladder, and I was talking to you about the ladder the other day, about how we can go up the ladder and we can make big rungs or small rungs, and big rungs make it harder for ourselves, but if we've got small rungs we can ascend up the ladder with our little aims. So just a couple of more from this, carrying on with not. Oh no, I mean from In Search of Miraculous, then not. So this is In Search of Miraculous. The outer circle of mechanical humanity to which we belong and which alone we know. Everybody understands in his own way and all differently. The circle of the confusion of tongues. Each speaks in his own particular language. No one understands another and takes no trouble to be understood. Mutual understanding between people is impossible except in rare, exceptional moments. And we've all had that. We're all mechanically chatting away, thinking everybody knows what we're talking about. Most people are not even listening properly anyway. Or most people are waiting for a gap so that they can say what they want to say. So it's all mechanical talking. I've had conversations with people where we both thought we were on the same, discussing the same thing, and turned out that we both had different views of it, but we both thought we liked the same thing. And then I've had the opposite, the other way around, where I've been with someone who we're both arguing a point, and it turns out we're both arguing a point for the same thing. We both want the same result, but we're both coming at it from a different angle, or not understanding each other's language of why that person was saying to get to from A to B, you have to do it this way, and I was saying to get to A to B, you do it that way. But we both were trying to say the same thing, really. The last quote, and then I will stop rabbiting on because I'm definitely not getting my language across. So this is from Not. The European languages have no roots, no meaning, and articles written with these words have no content. This is one of the reasons why life nowadays is so empty. Let's not make our lives empty, let's make them full. So until next time.